Hello, good evening, and welcome to the LFC Daytrippers. I'm Gav, and with me this week I have got Just Joe football show. It's Joe Wainman. It's the Leeds fan. I haven't spoken to him since Leeds went down, but we're going to talk a little bit about Leeds as we go on. We're going to talk about just a load of the ownership stuff going on around the Premier League at the moment. You know, I've posed the question: is football dying? And you know, I've argued for so long about what's going on at Manchester City. Very sceptical over what's going on. I'm currently at Manchester United, or may go on at Manchester United, and then the stuff around Saudi Arabia and what's going on here has really kind of, I think it's alarming. I was saying to Joe just before we come on, so we're going to talk about all that in the next 45 minutes to an hour, and anything that you want to talk about, throw it in there. If you have any questions for Joe, throw them in, and we'll ask him as many as we possibly can, because loads in our chat are always interested in how Joe is and how Leeds are and stuff like that. So Joe, first of all, you're very welcome. How are you? What a shirt.
I know, it's beauty, innit, mate?
Yeah,
it's a belter. Mate, I've got them. It's summertime, right? So I got them out of the wardrobe and I got a bit of stick for one of them. So I was like, do you know what? Every show that I'm going to do, I'm just going to switch my shirt around, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Have you got, so you've an array of these, have you?
Oh, yeah. There's one just here, look, mate.
Yeah, bring them on.
This one's a nice, I don't know what you would call it, mate. But
Nice Ventura, that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's... Yeah, it's Primark specials, Gav. Primark specials.
They look great. Danny LUFC Rumsey, who's probably a regular on your show, says, breaking news, Darren Moore has had his interview at Leeds. All has gone well.
This is not true, man.
Okay. I want to talk about... So let's tell you what. Let's start.
Don't tell me that's true. It better not be. He's on the wind-up, surely.
Well, he has left Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah.
After getting them promoted to the Championship. Like, what is going on there?
100-point season as well, wasn't it? I don't know if he's... People were telling me he's been sacked or whatever, but...
Left by mutual consent.
Yeah, so, I mean, 100-point season, clawing back a 3-0 halfway deficit in the playoffs, first time ever. Like, he did great things there. So, yeah, I was surprised by it. But listen, this is football. On the same day, we lost Gary O'Neill, and then Bournemouth had got a new manager in the door, and it's like, wow, I almost feel that's a little bit harsh on O'Neill, but... The guy who they've got in, Gav, Iriola, we tried to get back in January after March, not January. And he's from the Bielsa School of Thought. He played under Bielsa, played some really good stuff at Rayo Vallecano, beating Barca, beating Real on a shoestring budget, nearly got them Europe. So they're one to watch next season in terms of style of play, Bournemouth, for sure. I think they'll do all right under him, although it is harsh under O'Neill. But... Yeah, look, my favourite at this time for the Leeds job, mate, is Daniel Farke. I know it's not great Premier League-wise, but he has won the Championship twice. He's recently left...
Is he the Norwich guy?
Yeah, the German guy, yeah.
Oh, Joe, we're going to go through this again.
No.
You see, I didn't like Jesse Marsch, and this fella just gets teams to the Premier League and then hasn't got a breeze what he's doing.
I agree with that, but he has won the Championship twice. So
I know, but then he's been relegated twice as well, Joe.
This is true, but at Norwich he had a shoestring budget, though. We have to say that.
Okay. Well, look, let's go back a little bit.
I'd rather him than Scott Parker anyway. And he's another.
Well, Scott Parker's been linked, but Gary O'Neill's left Bournemouth. I thought I seen maybe you talking about Gary O'Neill. No, maybe not. Okay. No. It's not. I thought it was you because I don't really follow many Leeds accounts, so I just blame you when I see most things. But going back to it, Leeds are relegated.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people could see it coming from a long way out. I could definitely see it when they gave Allardyce the job with 4 games to go. And does it, like, you know, I'm not going to ask you how do you feel because it's not great, but Abo asks, how do you feel? And Everton stay up. And of course, going along the lines of this show, Everton and their finances and different things. Was there many Leeds fans out there, you included, that thought, you know what, they've been up against it with regards to financial fair play and nothing being done about it, and they happen to stay in the league and we don't?
It was the same last season. Do you remember, Gav? We were all Leeds United, Burnley, and someone else were
Yeah,
all going to put
Sean
in a
Dyche, the
fight.
Sean Dyche
Yeah,
Ultras it was. Yeah,
yeah, and then what happened is they get relegated, and Leeds United stay up and go, oh nah, you're left on your own, Burnley, to look after that now. Now we've gone down, we're complaining about it again. Look, I just think, yeah, it's not ideal, but ultimately, you know, we're going to talk about it from Chelsea as well. It's clear that FFP is just not fit for purpose, is it? Really, like, what's the point in it? Like, at the end of the day, if someone wants to splurge as much money as they can on a football, let them do it. Let them do it. Why are we putting in these rules and regs that they're just circumventing anyway? Everton have been circumventing it, and what will happen is they'll receive a fine. They probably won't get any points deduction, and it'll be a drop in the ocean. And Chelsea, you know, they found a loophole, it seems, and they're farming off all the players over to Saudi Arabia. So for me, just get rid of it. Like, I don't think it's fit for purpose because it stops. Like, for me, Gav, I've said this on a few shows. Football's cyclical, right? It goes in cycles, and I'm actually happy to see an Aston Villa, a Newcastle, and even City to an extent, more recently, coming from the abyss. In a sense, you know, like City came from the abyss. As much as I know they've rivaled yous, and you might not enjoy it, but it's nice to see a change. And that's why I've enjoyed Newcastle getting top four, because it's nice to see a change. With FFP, it removes that to an extent. Like a big billionaire couldn't just come into Leeds United and say, right, that's it, now we're going to the top because of FFP, etc. It needs to be a bloody Gulf state, it seems, in order for that to happen. But even now with Newcastle, it's got to be a lot more methodical than just being able to go, right, we're buying whoever we want. It feels like it's just a closed shop, and what's the point in it anyway if people are gonna like cheat it anyway? Everton have cheated it at the bottom end of the table, and Chelsea and others are cheating it at the top end of the table. Like, it's just not fit for purpose, Gav.
I think the difference between, and we've spoken about it loads of times, the difference between the Everton situation is that they're spending money they have, but they're spending too much of it. And what I mean by that is that, you know, when you look City and what's going on probably at Chelsea now is a different issue. What's happening with Everton is they're spending way too much of their income on wages, and they're losing money hand over fist. And it looks like they were pulled by the Premier League. They gave an excuse about COVID and stadium costs. It didn't really wash, but the Premier League couldn't nail them on it, so kind of worked closely with them, as Everton said. And then I think Everton went and done something else, and they went, hold on, no. We're charging you now. But the problem is when you charge, like, as far as I'm concerned, if you charge a club, have them in court next week.
Yeah,
or the week, or just say, listen, because you can put so many rules in place, Joe, right? And I disagree with you slightly on what's the point of it. The point of it, there is a point to it, but how it's actually worked or how the system works in it is appalling. Like, if they're writing that many rules to things, right? One of those rules could simply be, right, if you are charged with an offence, financial, whatever, misgivings, or financial problems, right, you will have 6 weeks from the date we charge you, right? And on that date, in 6 weeks' time, we will be at a location, whether it be a hotel or whatever, a conference room somewhere, and we're going to have this out over a maximum of 5 days. We're going to make our ruling, and that's it. None of this kicking it down the road, none of this, you know, sort of like, when's this going to happen? You know, the sort of way. I don't agree with that. You see, I think if Everton were charged in February, the outcome of that should have been sorted by the end of March. Simple as that. Like, if you have enough information to charge them, right, and they feel that they shouldn't be charged, well, bring the information that we're looking for. You have 6 weeks to do it. This is not like a fellow, you know, sole trader somewhere that, like, is just walking his bollocks off, Joe, and hasn't got time to get all this information together. These are huge companies with hundreds and hundreds of employees, right? And massive, like, legal teams that can go, this is what they're charging us with. This is what they need to see. And if we've done nothing wrong, well, we're there in 6 weeks. If we don't show up in 6 weeks, they're throwing the book at us. And that's the way it should be. And that's the biggest issue for me, Joe, how they actually bring these actions around. Look, I don't even know what's going to happen with Everton. I have a feeling the Premier League would have been all right with them going down because it would have got rid of an issue for them. But they stay up now. like Everton are in massive trouble. Like hundreds of millions they've lost over the last 3 years, and you're only allowed to lose 105. Talk about new investments and stuff. I don't even think that's gone through. But Leeds go down. But just quickly on Leeds before we move on.
Yeah.
You've already said who you'd like your manager to be. But what about players in, players out? Because I'm sure there's a few that want to. Is there a few that want to get out of there? Is there a few that look like coming in? Where do you stand? Are you hopeful?
There's going to be loads of exits, mate. There's going to be a mass exodus, I'd imagine. There's a lot of release clauses. Tyler Adams is a wanted man, as you'd imagine. There was hope initially that the 49ers could convince him to stay, but I just think he's a wanted man. There's a lot of clubs being mentioned now, Brighton, Newcastle, Villa. I think he's a great squad option for someone like them. I think he's a top player. I really rate him. Rodrigo's got a very minuscule release clause, and I don't see him playing in the Championship when he's just played for the Spain national team. He'll want to keep that place if he can. Mellier's going to leave, which I'm okay with now. I used to have a long-running Twitter, not spat, but you remember Gar Breen? He told me he was rubbish, and every time he did something good, I would tweet something at him, and every time he did something bad, he would tweet something at me. And it seems like he won out on that one, to be fair to him. But yeah, now there's going to be a mass exodus. As for incomings, we've not heard of. I think what we're realising, it's very similar ownership to yours, Gav, in that it's American and it's the 49ers enterprises, not so much the 49ers. It's very much they get people to fund a round of funding and then they'll go out and get other people. So I don't know if you've seen, but we've just had Ricky Fowler, Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas put in the latest round. We've had a couple of NBA players. So it's working like that, you see. So that's how they're going to operate. So there's cash there. But one thing I'll say, it's all very, very quiet. And I know Liverpool move a little bit like that. But I don't know if it's because they're on the opposite side of the world and they work on a different time zone to us. But if you compare it with how we were under Victor and Rads, and you could tell they used to leak stuff to Fabrizio like you would not believe. Now, all of a sudden, we don't hear nothing. So we're all thinking it's Farker. We don't actually know. And as for incomings, again, we just don't know because we're not being drip-fed anything, really. So I couldn't really tell you for incomings. But there's a lot of interest in the players, as you'd imagine, willing on. So, yeah, it's what it is.
Jamie Dixon says the 49ers Enterprises own the 49ers NFL, but the Enterprise is actually a pool of investors.
Yeah.
And look, I wouldn't be over concerned if it's quiet on incomings if you're looking for a manager. You're not going to go signing players and the manager walks in the door in 2 weeks and goes, I don't like any of them. But the big thing will be to bring a manager in. Like I said, people in the chat area are talking about the guy that's just...
that won't be. They're on the line.
You don't know. You don't
Better
know.
not be.
Do you know what I mean? He's done a really good job at Sheffield Wednesday on a less of a budget than he'd be on at Leeds. So
he didn't do well at West Brom, though, if I remember rightly. He took the West Brom job, didn't he? I don't think he did well there, but it's what it is.
I have a feeling he might have started off quite well at West Brom and then
maybe
kind of went a bit south.
Yeah.
But look, it's one of those where we'll talk again over the summer and see how things are going. Listen, if the Leeds fan base is anything like the Liverpool fan base, you will get people just going like, what are these Americans doing? What is going on? The sort of way. And I tweeted today, saying, you can give out as much as you want about FSG, Liverpool owners, and fill your boots, makes no difference to me.
Yeah.
And I'm as good as anybody about giving out about what they're doing and what they don't do. But this brings us on to the next thing, and that's owners of other clubs at the moment, what's going on. And I genuinely, Joe, I think it's nearly fucking criminal at this stage. What's going on, right? So just to touch on a few things. Man City currently have 115 charges against them for financial issues, right? From the Premier League. That's still sitting there since February, I think. Nothing's although what are they meant to do? They're not meant to give you a weekly update on it. I'm sure when it happens, it should happen. But I think the Premier League should be ones that just go, this is happening on this date. And they should really have it done before the season starts, in my opinion. So everyone knows where they stand. You have Manchester United at the moment that's just an absolute circus as to who's going to own Manchester United, whether it's Ratcliffe, who looks to me like the Glazers 2.0. So I understand people's grievances over that. And then you have this Qatar bid. And again, when it's Qatar, when it's Abu Dhabi, when it's everywhere, when it's Saudi Arabia going, is this state linked? You know, Saudi Arabia stuff not being state linked is on very, very thin ice, if even that. And I don't know what's going to go on with Manchester United. But then you look at, and this is the big one for me, what's going on at the moment, Joe. So, for people that don't know, right, and I won't say living under a rock because you will know what's going on, but just to give you a bit of context to it. Chelsea's, Todd Bowley is at Chelsea, right? He's part of a company called Clearwater, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Clearlink.
Yeah, so he's part of this. He's part of this group. Okay, PIF own Newcastle United. PIF are also a big investor in. Well, I feel like it's clear. Like I've just forgotten the name. But are a big investor basically in the owners of Chelsea. Okay, which for me red flags all over the place. And now it looks like PIF are in control of 4 clubs in Saudi Arabia. Okay, now we've been speaking for ages on Chelsea and how much they have to get rid of players to balance books and stuff like that. And it looks like Chelsea are going to be selling some stars or so-called stars from their squad into this Saudi Arabian league, into teams that are controlled by PIF, who are investors in Chelsea's owners.
Smart, isn't it?
Joe, Clear Lake, sorry, Laszlo. I don't know. Do you know why I have Clearwater in my head? There's a shopping centre down the road called Clearwater. Like Joe, I know I'm not saying it does not affect Leeds, but it's not. If Leeds were in the top 4, top 5, you'd be looking on what is going on here. The sort of way. But like, even taking my red tinted glasses or your white tinted glasses off, how worrying is this?
Yeah, it's not good. I do have quite strong opinions on it, even though, I'm not in the league and stuff, and I have to sometimes check my thinking. Is it because I hate Chelsea as much as Liverpool fans hate Chelsea? But no, there is a morality to it as well. Look, officially they've not broke any rules, have they? This is the thing with the FFP thing. They've not broken any rules. They found a loophole until that loophole's closed. It seems anyway. But yeah, look, it's shady as this part owner of Chelsea that Chelsea don't have to sort of tell the Premier League who owns that percentage. And I think it's like you said, this PIF. I think the frustrating thing for me, it's again comes back to that thing of clubs not getting a fair shake in a sense, because you mentioned it there, the whole rhetoric about Chelsea season and also going into next season has been they need to offload players. And as a fan watching it from the outside, I'm looking at it thinking, you know what, Chelsea might be in trouble. Who's going to take Koulibaly, who's 31 and they just signed on a 4-year deal at the age of 30, which I think is madness anyway, on almost 300 grand a week. I'm thinking, who's going to take him? Because they need to get rid of him because he's been bang average, right? Yeah, he was great in Italy. I get all that. But this, basically for me, there was a lot of dross. All right, I might be rewriting history on Koulibaly and very recency bias, but there's been a lot of dross at Chelsea, Lukaku included. All these players that they're like, damn, they need to go out and get basically a new squad, get rid of all these young players or players that have been there for years, the likes of Loftus-Cheek, etc., and then they have to get rid of the big earners. So I'm looking at it, Gav, going, they're in trouble. This is fun. This is good. This also means that we're going to see maybe Villa go ahead of Chelsea, maybe others go ahead of Chelsea, or at least try and challenge. But what's happened now is they've managed to basically balance their books by having an agreement. And I've been on another show earlier and people trying to say, well, why won't they take these players? I don't know. It just stinks. And I think what's worse about it is Todd Bowley was literally there with the Al Halil president, or Prince of Al Halil, however it works, only just a couple of weeks ago. And then all of a sudden, all the dead wood that no one in Europe wants, he's now going to Chelsea, to Saudi Arabia. And like you say, it's not even a case of them all going to one club. It's like they're just being dotted out everywhere. Yeah, listen, there's a narrative to it as well. So for me, Riyad Mahrez, for example, has been linked. And I sort of understand the Riyad Mahrez one, because I look at it and I go, he's won everything there is to win. He's at the twilight of his career. He's a Muslim man, and he'll go over there and he'll be lauded as a hero, right? I also look at the Benzema arc. Again, won everything there is to win. He's a Muslim man. He goes back and again, he's a hero. I understand them ones coming to the twilight of the career. I don't understand them paying for a Ziyech. I don't understand the clamour for a Koulibaly. I don't understand the clamour for for a Lukaku. I just don't get it. And it's frustrating, because I'm like, this isn't fair that they've been able to basically, in effect, balance their books. Do you know what I mean? It's bang out of order, because they should have been struggling to be able to balance the books, but now they haven't, Gav. It's easy for them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it based, like, and you see, you used the word loophole a few times there, right?
Yeah.
And this is where I go back to the Premier League, right? Football Association, even the government, okay? Yeah. And I asked the question, how is this being allowed to happen, right? Like, Newcastle get taken over by PIF from Saudi Arabia, okay? And basically, they're taken over. There's all sorts of rigmarole going on about it, because is it state-owned and stuff like that? And of course, as soon as you say this, people think, oh, well, you're having a go off. And I always have to clarify this. I don't care what country it is.
Yeah.
If Norway, Mexico, Canada, anybody from the world, anyone from Africa comes in as a country and tries to buy a football club, I have an issue with it, right? I have an issue with it, okay? Now, you can absolutely have an issue with certain individuals and certain companies buying football clubs as well. But the state ownership thing is where I think it gets very muddied, because now you're not only basically trading with the Premier League to seek your own club, you're basically going way beyond the Premier League, and you're basically going to government and going, listen, I own, for argument's sake, I own Argentina, right? If the Argentinian government want to buy this, no, that's probably a bad one, actually, Argentina and the UK. So let's just say Brazil, okay? So Brazil come in and go, we want to buy Liverpool Football Club, right? They're not going to bother with the Premier League. They're just going to go straight to the government and go, listen, we're going to promote so much your stuff. Yeah. We're going to bring so much business into this country. And how much is it worth? Oh, it's more. We're going to bring 30 billion worth into this country, and they go, yeah, no worries, we'll make that work, right? And that's where the questions for me have to come from, because Newcastle, whether you agree with it or not, right? And I think actually since the sale of Newcastle, I think some of the stuff that has come out with regards to PIF and are they state owned and are they not, I think has kind of shone a light on them, where they're going, come on lads, we're not fucking stupid, okay? Yeah. But then the Chelsea thing happens, right? Where frozen assets for Abramovich, they need to get rid of Chelsea, right? They can't let Chelsea, and I understand you can't let Chelsea go under, right? Okay, I get that, right? Massive football club, they don't want to go under. But the lack of due diligence, in my opinion, from the British government, right, or HMRC, or whoever was selling that club, to go, Clear Lake, who are they?
Yeah.
Who invests in them? Oh, hold on. PIF invests in them. Can't happen. We cannot sell that club to them, because now we have basically these people up here owning this club and are a major investor in the people trying to buy this club. You know what I mean? So it goes back to the Premier League, and it continues to do so. Now I'm with you. You have Todd Bowley and Chelsea spending an extortionate amount of money, okay? Throwing absolutely shit at the wall and seeing what sticks with regards to players. Massive money. Yeah. And we're all going, how are they going to get around this? Like, they're going to have to sell, and teams know they have to sell, so they're going to get really good deals. So instead of selling 6 players, 7, they might have to sell 10 or 11 to make the money.
Yeah, yes.
And now they're being linked to Saudi Arabia, and this triangle of Saudi Arabia, right, PIF, and, you know, PIF Saudi Arabian League and Chelsea is going to do a walk around here where they're going to go, what players do you not want? We'll offer them mad money. We'll give you big transfer fees. You clear all your books. They come over to Saudi Arabia. We use them to promote a World Cup, right? And we possibly loan them to other clubs in Europe anyway. Okay?
Yeah.
Once they're you know, their job of promoting Saudi Arabia for the 2030 World Cup is done. That's how it goes. And like before the show started, there was somebody in the chat and said, I hope you land firmly on your feet when you fall off this high horse you're on. This is not high horse, man.
No.
This is me watching this unfold and saying, lads, there's nobody going to do anything about this. Is nobody actually going to stand up? Like, is the Premier League not going to turn around and go, hold on, you cannot be selling them players. Not that you can't sell the players to Saudi Arabia, but basically your investor is buying these players off you. And they own a club 200 miles up the road. Yeah. Like, is it... Am I going mad here, Joe?
No, you're not. This is what I mean. No, you're not. Like, I'm just looking there. Like, this is ultimately, this is it in a nutshell, right? So Saudi Arabia invests billions into Clear Lake Capital, the majority owner of Chelsea, right? So in effect, they own Chelsea. In a sense, you could argue Todd Bowley is the front man, right? Chelsea then spends 650 million on transfers, so $500 million, more than, putting them massively in the red with FFP. And then Chelsea sell all their deadwood to Saudi Arabia at extortionate prices to then avoid FFP. Like, it's like you said, it's like a trifecta. It's like a triangle, right? Like, how... it's like a cheat code. It's like a cheat code. Like, this summer, Bowley could buy loads more players. You know, there was a loads of dodginess over this Agati deal, and apparently we're led to believe that PSG gazumped Chelsea. This is the Chelsea that spent absolutely shed loads to get players like Mudryk in the door and gazumped Arsenal, but all of a sudden they got gazumped by PSG. Yet there was that story that was leaked that Todd Bowley had offered to buy a percentage in Sporting. Like, and then all that came out, and then all of a sudden Chelsea went, oh, we've pulled out of the deal now, the wages are too high. And I'm like, what, really? We're going to believe that Chelsea have limitations in effect? It's really bad. It's a bad look, and like you said, this is nothing to do with where it is, etc. You know, I just think it's like it comes back to integrity again, and I guess the Premier League doesn't have a whole load of integrity. None of the football clubs do. They're all up to dodginess. We did a piece yesterday on my football club, and Rad Razani took us to Myanmar where there was ethnic cleansing going down, and he said it was all for the people. And then we find out later his company 11 Sports had just sold the rights to Premier League football over there. So come on, all the clubs are up to a madness, or have done at some point in their period. They're all up to it. But this for me seems like it's as clear as day, Gav. Me and you are both sat in our homes, and even we can go, this is dodgy. So why aren't, like you said, the bigwigs looking at this and going, right, we need to put a stop to this, and we need to put a stop to it and now. Because otherwise we're just going to get... It's like this multi-club ownership. Don't like it. Don't want it. I don't want it. Like, I don't know. Football's only going one way, isn't it? And it's almost going to eventually just implode on itself. Like, I don't know how we fix it. Has it gone too far? But this is just another just another issue on a long list, isn't it, man? It's shit. It's basically what it is.
I just think, like, and you know what, a lot of people when I speak on this will say, like, you know, what about FSG, right? And like, genuinely, I've had conversations on Twitter where people would say to me, oh, well, like, City have ambition. You know, Liverpool don't have any ambition. City do. And I'm kind of going, yeah, I kind of get what you're saying, but the charges against them is basically, look, you've cheated for 7 to 8 years in order to put yourself in a position where you are sitting at a certain table in world football. But it's all built on sand, really. You know, that sort of way. And
Gav, this just before there's just been literally just come out here. So this is breaking news. This is from the Telegraph. So it says European rivals of Chelsea and Wolves are calling for a fair market investigation into Saudi Arabia's dramatic haul of big money signings. One top club says teams are using the Saudi Pro League as a get out of FFP jail free card. Chelsea sources claim interest in their players is purely transactional and down to the club's popularity in the Middle East, which is just bullshit. The club denies that PIF has any existing financial interest in the club, despite reports that Clearlake, which owns about 60% of Chelsea, has prior minority investment from PIF. So it looks like they're asking questions. They're denying it, but yeah.
But this is what I keep coming back to, Joe, right? I'm not against people asking questions. And like I said, like, one of my bugbears on this is that football club owners, right, that aren't doing this, are then basically, told, you don't have any ambition, you don't do enough. And listen, come here, FSG, I think their model is excellent. I've always said that. I'm not afraid to say it. But there is times where they could show more. There's no doubt about that, right?
Yeah.
But what really gets on my wick, Joe, is a Leeds owner or a Spurs owner or whoever is basically told you're not good enough because you weren't over there doing that. Okay? And it's a real kind of, if you can't beat them, join them attitude. Yeah, and I think that's too easy, Joe. I think that's too easy. Like, I understand the Telegraph there reporting that maybe people are asking questions and all. But what I'm asking for, Joe, is, and what everyone should be asking is, why are the Premier League allowing this to happen? Right? I'm not saying, like, don't get me wrong, it could come out that, no, listen, no rules are being broken. Okay. But my question is, why didn't the Premier League, when Newcastle was being taken over, do a stringent look on them and go, no, it's just too close to state ownership for us. It can't happen. Okay? I think they've done it once and then they let it through. But the Chelsea one is the kicker for me. Right? If they're looking at Chelsea, due diligence on a £4.25 billion deal overall, when you think about it, why aren't they looking going, hold on, them lads up the road are invested in this crowd? That's a massive you has to stop. And I think what you've read out there is spot on. The Saudis will turn around and go, we want the World Cup, let's bring a load of players in here, let's bump up this league and make it look great, and look at this and the facilities we're putting in place, all working towards a World Cup. Chelsea are over here and with a shitload of players that they can't get rid of and need to get rid of. Let's take all of them, and in turn, our investment in Chelsea then looks even stronger.
Exactly.
Like it's like, Joe, I'm no expert on anything, right?
No, same.
And but come on, me and you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
yeah,
are able to sit here, like you said, and go, something's not right there.
Yeah.
Do you expect anything to happen over this? Like, you have the charges on City, you have this at the moment, and I know you were saying loophole, and I get that. But this doesn't feel loophole to me. This actually feels negligent by the Premier League and possibly the Football Association and possibly the government.
Yeah. Well, you were talking about the Newcastle ownership and that, and the government ended up getting involved in that anyway, didn't they? I think when Boris and his cronies tried to get that pushed through. I don't know. Like, money rules the world. It's probably above the Premier League's head. I don't know. I don't know how we resolve it. How can they resolve it? It's mad because I'm probably going to make a wild statement here because I think Italian football is as corrupt as they come, right? And their owners are as mad as they come. But one thing I will say for them, when something happens over there, they are stripped of titles. They are relegated. They are taken through the ringer. I don't know the full ins and outs of it, but what I'm saying is I just don't think the Premier League have the balls to do that. I don't see the Premier League doing that. Let's say, for example, these 115 charges, right? Mm-hmm. And everyone, as a fan base, we might look at City's achievements and say, well, it's all tainted. But do you think they'd actually lose any of their silverware? Would the Premier League do something as drastic as that and say, right, okay, we're chalking that off? I'm not too sure. Maybe I have made a wild comparison with the Italian stuff, but I just know that when they have been found to be dodgy in the past, they have been sort of reprimanded for it. My good man Andrea Russo's in the chat, who's actually an Italian, by the way, who comes on my show, so maybe he'll be able to give us a bit of context on it. But yeah, look at that as well. And he's talking there about the Lukaku stuff. Lukaku upset with Chelsea because he wants to return to Inter, while Chelsea have already lined up a move for him to Al Hilal. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I think Lukaku has said, I want to stay in Europe, hasn't he? But isn't it mad that they sort of agreeing these deals before they've even got a say in it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's, you know what, like, there is a few in the chat are just so disillusioned with it. And I understand that, you know, and like I've said for a while that I'm disillusioned with football. Like, and I really got disillusioned when the thoughts of a state or any country coming in and buying Liverpool Football Club. And a lot of people said to me at the time, but why? And I said, well, that's not what the football club is about. You know, and look, I know we're in this era and we're in this generation of win at all costs. Doesn't matter what it is, you know, just win, you know, so I can get online and I can tell people we've won and I'll do up a hand over some fucking fella with, you know, I don't know, some Anio picture on his bio and you don't know who the fuck he is. But once you have the upper hand on him, that's okay. Let anything happen in football. And I am disillusioned by it. But disillusioned was there. Now it's actually starting to be annoying, really fucking annoying. And it's not. And like people say to me, it's because you didn't win this and didn't. No. Listen, I've enjoyed watching Liverpool, right? I always enjoy watching Liverpool, right? Even when they lose, you know, I want to watch Liverpool, right? But I don't even. It doesn't even come into my consideration. Oh, well, we would have won this, and this if City didn't do that. Yeah, okay, maybe it does a little bit, or maybe lying a little bit there. But I even if they went and took City to the cleaners on 115 charges, I don't want the titles.
No, yeah.
I don't want the titles. I would rather if Premier League turned around and went, listen, from 2011 to 2018 or 19 or wherever it is, Manchester City won X amount of titles. They are now scrubbed off, no winner. We're not handing the titles to anybody. We're not handing FA Cup. Well, the FA would have to do that, and the EFL would have to do stuff on League Cups. But the Premier League could say they won it in 2013, whatever it was, 17, 18 or whatever, and basically just turn around and go, they're off, they're gone. I don't want the league titles. I don't want them.
No.
I want them. I want the Premier League to turn around and say, we've put those charges in place. We are going to pull Man City on this, and we're going to go through it. And if they prove that they've done nothing wrong, fine, right? But I think it's hard to believe that they've done nothing wrong, because I don't see how you do that rise in football without just being absolutely, you know, incessant with money going in whatever way you can. And that's where it's coming to me now, Joe. It's actually annoying, right? Yeah. And I think, like, people go, the game goes on, money. I get that. But, like, at some stage, someone's going to have to turn around and go, lads, what is going on here? Like, are we just going to keep going until all the clubs are owned by countries all over the world, and they're just going to trade here and trade there, so finances don't matter? You know what I mean? And then you have the Super League stuff where people had a breakdown over. And my only thing with that Super League was that Liverpool didn't approach it properly. Liverpool had been open about it and went to their fan base and went, this is what we think. You might have got something on it, but they didn't. They tried to hoodwink along with the other 5 clubs. And that's where my annoyance comes from, Joe. It just seems to be that, like, people are, like, how many fucking loopholes is there? Yeah. Like, how bad, like, who wrote up the Premier League rules? Who wrote up the fit and proper test? Like, that there's that many loopholes. But it's not even a loophole for me. They're just going in and doing what they fucking like. And nobody's stopping them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, this is the thing, isn't it? Like, I'm the same as you in terms of, like, I'm annoyed. And the reason I'm annoyed, because I spoke about it, for me, football's cyclical, right? Liverpool had their time back in the day, Leeds had their time, Man United had their time, and then now we've seen City and we've seen Arsenal for a period, and I look at Chelsea. So say, for example, my case in point is, say, Tottenham, right? I know Tottenham haven't won anything, but I think Tottenham will struggle to fight at the top end of the Premier League now for a good few years. Massive rebuild, and it's now we're going to see Newcastle, we're going to see Villa, etc. So as a fan watching the Premier League, I'm like, you know what, Chelsea are in trouble. So the annoyance from me is they've managed to do this, so now they're going to be competitive again. Whereas I think regardless of who's in charge next season, they struggle because they can't basically adhere to FFP because they've got a load of players that, let's be honest, right? Who would have took Koulibaly for what they'll get in terms of finance from Saudi Arabia? I don't think anyone's taking
It's not only that, it's the wages that he would have been given to join
exactly.
Chelsea.
Yeah, exactly. He was on nearly 300 grand a week for like 4 years.
So you'll have to probably take 20, 30 million for him most, and then possibly have to pay half his wages, if not more.
Exactly, right? So you've got this. And then you look at Ziyech, you look at all the rest that are going, Who's taking these? Then also throw into the mix that you have Conor Gallagher, you got Mount, you got Havertz, you got Loftus-Cheek, you got Kovacic. So basically all these players are needing to exit and then they're having to bring them in. Whereas now it just feels like we don't need to worry about that lot anymore. Let's start rebuilding again. Whereas it shouldn't be as easy as this, Gav. And that's what my annoyance is. It shouldn't have been as easy for them to just say, someone buy these players. And then, because like you say, let's say, for example, you wanted Koulibaly. Liverpool wanted him. Can you imagine the negotiation? You'd be like, we're not paying that for him. He's this age. He's that. But you know what I mean? And Chelsea end up having to get a lot less. And like you said, they probably have to subsidise some of his wages, etc. But now it's just, with a magic wand, all them problems have gone. Aubameyang's going, Ziyech, all the names. Basically, there's going to be about 10 exits. And it's all happened in the space of about 48 hours. That in itself's not normal. Do you know what I mean?
No, it's not. But you see, but it's like look, if China were doing this, which they did a few years ago,
they
right?
did.
They were buying loads of players, right? If China were buying all these players because they decided they were going to, do whatever, or Japan were buying them all for the J League, right? You kind of go, Jesus Christ, how did they have to get away with that? How lucky are they that China and Japan are just buying these players and they're getting away? But it's not. It's the country and the organisation that's invested in the people that own your club doing it. That's the biggest thing for me. Do you know what I mean? And the Premier League can't stop it. The Premier League can't stop the sale of a player. But surely they have to have a hard look at themselves and go, hold on, they're selling all these players to Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia invest in this Clear Lake who own Chelsea, who we sold them to, right? We sold them to. And what are they meant to do? They can't do anything. The Premier League actually can't do anything to stop it.
No.
But they have to be able to turn around and go, that stops.
Yeah.
Now, maybe Todd Bowley expects that to happen, where he's told, that stops now. And he goes, grand, no problem. I'm about to bring in a fucking shitload of players. I'm about to get rid of a shitload. I'm about to balance in the books. And now we're in a better place than we were 12 months ago with players and things. And now we just turn it over as we normally would. Ashley says we can't blame these investors for trying this. If you're trying to make fast millions or billions in the case of Premier League, it's such an easy target. They can't enforce shit. It's like carte blanche. It clearly is. It clearly is carte blanche. But the big thing, Joe, is, and I think, and we'll finish up in a minute, I think the biggest thing in all this is Manchester United. Because I've maintained for ages, City to me have cheated, right? I've openly said it. No problem saying it, right? The 115 charges, I think, as much as I've no faith in the Premier League to possibly follow through on this, they must have found enough to put 115 charges on the table. All right? So they're going to have to follow through on it. They've made a big song and dance about it, right? The Chelsea stuff, it's just madness. And it's fit and proper, and it's actually ownership issues there that the Premier League should have shut down very, very quickly. Excuse me. But the biggest thing for me is Manchester United and all this. And look, I talk about all the time about Gary Neville going on about Qatar, and Qatar coming into United, and it'll be quite entertaining to see him trying to do handbrake turns and mental gymnastics. Right? But I think the reason the biggest thing is, and I've said it for ages, if Manchester United or Liverpool are taken over by a state, that's when it will all fucking like flames, right? Because they're the two biggest clubs in the country. Right? I think they're in the top 4 clubs in the world, right? And as much as people go, City or Chelsea or Newcastle or wherever else, if it happens to Manchester or Liverpool, I think it's going to explode. It's going to absolutely explode in everyone's faces. That's where I am. I don't know where you are. Where you think
I think you're bang on the money because City were League One, Not when they were taken over, but what I'm saying is they've operated down there, yeah? Newcastle been in the Championship, been in the Champions League a couple of times, right? Chelsea, okay, Europe, but we're never going to do what they've done had they not been taken over. You know, winning Champions League, winning Premier Leagues on a regular basis. Had Roman not come in, they wouldn't have done it. Okay? I think you're bang on the money in that what City have been able to create with their money, what Chelsea have been able to create with their money, and Newcastle probably in a few years, Man United and Liverpool already have because of their stature. Like, you know, no matter where you go in the world, there is Man United fans, there's Liverpool fans. They're up there, right? Arsenal to a lesser extent, but definitely Man United and Liverpool. And like you said, they're already there. So if they then get Qatari investment, like you mentioned, if Man United get Qatari investment, then it's a, I don't know, you can't stop that, can you really? How do you, like
you don't stop it, you see, because what will happen is, right, the problem at Manchester United is, right, they've loads and loads and loads of money, right, and spend loads and loads of money. Liverpool actually spend as much as them, right? You know, in terms of income and what they send out and stuff like that. We've seen that, right? But Liverpool make much better decisions than Manchester United. Manchester United's biggest issue is not their owners, right? It's the people they employ. It has been for 15 years, right? From managers to football directors to, you know, contemplating giving Rio Ferdinand jobs, all that sort of stuff, right? And that's the issue. But if you have Manchester United, right, making the decisions Liverpool make, or both them clubs making the same good decisions, and then saying, oh, by the way, right, Qatar and the UAE or China or wherever, Singapore, are coming in to buy these clubs. The rest of Europe will look and go, hold on, these have all the stature. Forget PSG, forget Newcastle, forget City, forget Chelsea to an extent. They have all the stature, right? They make shit tons of money. And now they're able to be going to go, and by the way, we're going to make all this money, and then if we need to go for it, we can go for it. And it would actually lead to Liverpool and United being able to do it, no problem. The rest saying, and this is where the worry is, the rest going, well, we're going to spend more. And then because of the owners that you would have at Liverpool and Manchester United estates, they go, oh, are you? So are we. Because if they can go and do it, we can go and do it. And all it will take then is for people to go, I'm bored of this. And then you have a lot of massive football clubs, right, owing masses of money. And we're sitting here in 5 years' time going, and I don't get this, all this, well, it was good while it lasted. Bullshit. Your football club is your football club. And I just don't want to get to the stage where they could just turn around and be bored in 5 years' time and go, no, not interested in it. And that's where I think the Manchester United thing is absolutely massive. Because I think clubs around Europe, right? I think clubs around Europe look at PSG and go, yeah, all right. You know what I mean? Man City, all right. But Liverpool and Manchester United, it'd be a bit like...
it'd be like Real Madrid or Barca, right?
Correct.
Like, that's what it is.
Yeah, that's what it'd be. And there'll be absolute outrage if either of them four clubs were to be taken over by any country in the world with any sort of funds. But it feels like that's where it's going. Yeah. It feels like that's where it's going. And people do say to me, oh, the morals and stuff like that, is it just a moral crusade you're on? No. I want my football club to be my football club. I want them to spend what they earn. And if you have owners that invest, great. But I genuinely want to be going down the road where who's invested in us? Are we selling this over here? This is just madness. All for the sake of the generation we live in of win at all costs. I don't want it. And I might be in the minority, I don't know. But I just don't want it. But what I'm watching going on at the moment is very worrying for me. Very, very worrying. But we'll have to see where it goes.
You know, someone mentioned it in the chat, and I remember when it broke. I think I was on the walk last week, and I know you're a big golf fan. Yeah. That was a real worry for me, in that they eventually have just backed down and gone to the negotiating table with this Live Golf and have said, okay, then come on board. And that was like, oh shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, they've got that much pulling power that for as long as the PGA were like, no, and some players were going and some players were, and then all of a sudden they're now at the negotiating table. So it just shows you that money talked, but it was a big thing for me, that, mate, when it broke, because I was like, oh shit, if they can do that, and someone mentioned it in the chat, then does it get to a stage where we have to accept it? You know what I mean? Like the Premier League, if someone else mentioned this in the chat, obviously they stopped them from using the Chelsea using the shirt sponsor, didn't they? That was it Paramount Plus? They stopped them doing that because it could cause issues with Sky and BT, because it also provides football in America, I think. But at what stage? It depends. Like the only way the Premier League do something is if it affects them financially, if it affects them in the pocket. So if Saudi started getting all the viewing numbers, because I was on a show earlier, apparently they're only 2 hours behind us or in front of us, so it could impact viewing figures. Let's say someone made a good point, might be West Ham versus, I don't know, Luton on a Monday night, but you've also got 2 hours or coinciding Benzema taking on Ronaldo in a different game.
Yeah.
A lot of people might go, do you know what? I'm not watching that Premier League game. And that's when it starts to affect the Premier League. And that's probably the only time where they go, right, we're doing something about this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When it affects them in the pocket.
Cahill says, I've never believed podcast went light on FSG for access. That's one of the funniest things I've ever heard. Not from you, Cahill, but the thoughts, like, we have been accused of going light on FSG for access. I've never had access to anything to do with Liverpool Football Club. I have to pay to get into that ground, trust me. But I do think they're going soft on the rigged game to protect subscriptions. I don't know about podcasts because I can't speak on that because I don't listen to an awful lot of football podcasts. I'm a true crime man when I'm not doing this, to be honest. So I don't know on that, but I do believe the media have gone very soft on them. Very, very soft on them. Like, I'll put it this way. If Inter Milan had won the European Cup 2 weeks ago, or whatever the time it was, right, and Inter Milan had 115 charges against them and beat Manchester City, I can guarantee a BT Sports would have spent 4 to 5 hours of as much as they possibly could in their coverage talking about how Inter Milan are there and should they actually be there, okay? But, you know, Man City were hailed as, you know, the best thing ever since sliced bread because of it. But look, I don't know where, like, Jamie reckons the next thing is the Super League. I think the Super League will come around again because I think if this continues to go on, they'll just decide we're not asked for people telling us what to do. We're just going to do our own thing now. Yeah. And they'll just break away and do their own thing. And that'll kill domestic football. I think the Super League will kill domestic football. You know, I don't know where it goes, but I'm just very, very, very concerned for it. And you know what? As much as I think it annoys me and Joe, because would you agree, Joe, the biggest thing that annoys you is that why aren't the people that are meant to look after this not looking after it? You know? Like, let's be honest, if you can make a quick buck, you'll try and make a quick buck. But, like, why aren't the people turning around going, you can't do that? You can't do that. And that's the biggest worry. But I just watch, because I think the Manchester United thing, I think the Manchester United thing might be the thing that really sends this over the edge. And a lot of clubs around Europe that don't bother too much with PSG or City or Newcastle in the next couple of years, not too bothered. They'll be majorly bothered if Manchester United have that sort of investment. Laszlo says football will survive, Gav. Yeah, football will survive, but it depends what kind of way it survives. You know, before you know it, we might be having games over in Saudi or games over in the States, and I just don't want that. It's it's not it. The end of the day, your football club's in here, right? I might sound cheesy and that now, but your football club's in there, and some of us go to games. Season tickets have been going for years. If then there is a big final or something, and it's put on the opposite end of the world, it's just not fair. It's just not fair. And I know I'm looking further ahead here, bro, but I don't know. That's probably where we're going to end up being, aren't we? At the end of the day, because the money's wherever. They've tried talking about these games in the past, and it's where it's going to end up, bro. Look at American football. They play in Wembley and that, don't they? So, Yeah. And the golf thing, like you mentioned earlier, like, I always thought the PGA, like, I'll watch golf. You know what I mean? I just watch golf. Yeah. But I always thought the PGA would just turn around and go. You see, the biggest thing for me in that was the PGA were trying to stop Live Golf getting world ranking points, and that would affect tournaments players could play in. And that was their way of batting them down. And I thought they'd just keep trying to do that in order to do it. But I think the PJ realised now we're not going to be able to stop that. We're going to have a tour here, but I think the PJ should have been bigger than that and stood up and went, right, you go and have your tour and your world rankings, and we'll just pit ourselves against you, sort of way. Would you come out on top? I don't know, but to see that what happened last week in that golf was just ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? But look, it's something that we'll definitely talk about again. It's definitely something that I'm sure will develop over the next possibly days with certain clubs, weeks, and definitely months before the season and the transfer window ends. We'll see all this because it has to unfold. In the Chelsea Saudi stuff has to unfold in the next 2 months. There's just no way around it. Joe, what's your plans? What are you up to at the minute before we go? Are you just talking Leeds every day?
Yeah, I did a little bit on Chelsea myself earlier and Bournemouth and stuff. I'm trying to keep my toe in the Premier League water, makes that's where people want to be, and I have gained quite a lot of fans of other clubs during my time doing the watch-alongs and that. So I want to keep my toe in the water. I like what For the Dyslexic Polyglot said there. Football fans needing to be expert on geopolitics. That's not good for anyone. And that's where we're at. I think I'll have to go do a geopolitical degree, Gav, and then we can chat some more about this. But yeah, just smashing out the content as often as possible, mate, for sure.
Good. We'll make sure to check out Just Show Football Show. It's brilliant, in fairness. Watch-alongs. It's mental. But look, the rest of the week for us, we're trying to bring you shows every night of the week this week, to be perfectly honest with you. We're doing it on the fly a little bit, depending on what Liverpool news is out and stuff like that. We thought we'd start off the week with this, but there will be transfer stuff during the week. There'll be different things. I know the lads are going to be recording a podcast. It won't be live, but they're recording a podcast on the great Liverpool games of the past. So go and check that out. Our charity link is in the description if you want to donate. If not, share it amongst your family, your friends, your colleagues. It currently sits just shy of €17,000. 20,000 is the target. It's been flying over the last little while. So if you can help us with that last 3-ish thousand, we'd be very, very appreciative of it. Joe, Kev O'Sullivan asked before we go, how did the walk go?
It was good, tough. My feet looked resembled something off at Lord of the Rings by the end of it, mate.
How far did you walk?
92 mile.
In how many days?
4.
It's good going, that.
Yeah, so we did it last year. So it's for Gary Speed. So we do it every year. We do 92 miles because obviously we won the league in 92 when Gary Speed was there. And it was his 10-year anniversary last year, obviously, when he took his life. So we walked from Wales to Leeds. This year we walked from Everton. So we actually set off from Goodison Park. We set off from Goodison Park. We stayed in Bolton. We went through Wigan. We stayed in Bolton, Burnley and Halifax, which was my hometown, and then finished in Leeds. But 100 plus Leeds fans, girls, men, and it's just a great experience. 3 of us in a room in a travel lodge and just all brought together. And honestly,
just nursing your wounds for 4 days in a travel
lodge.
Yeah,
but mate, I had to buy it was like soaking my feet in Dettol on an evening, wrapping them up on a morning and going again. And then honestly, mate, my feet, look, wait there. I'm not going to show you my feet. Don't worry.
I don't want to see your feet, Joe.
No, you're not going to see my feet.
Shorter enough, to be honest.
Yeah, but I'll show you what actually happened because I had to go to the hospital. And this is... I ended up having to get bandaged feet.
Jesus Christ.
No, so they were really bad. I was on antibiotics and stuff. So, but it was a great experience, mate. Honestly, I can't lie. It was amazing.
Yeah, and fair play.
Thanks, mate.
Great cause, 92 miles. That's some go. Fair play to you. But I'm sure you'll have another go at it next year, will you?
Yeah, definitely. I think we're going from Newcastle next year because obviously he played for Newcastle as well. So yeah.
Okay, so you just go from Newcastle, just go 92 miles on a walk, and then
so basically, obviously it's not 92 miles from start to finish. So we have to take routes that you wouldn't take. Like last year, we had to walk through Manchester on the canals, mate. And after walking so many miles, walking on cobbles, oh my God, it was the worst pain I've ever felt, man. But yeah.
Yeah, sounds great. No, fair play to you. It's a great cause. Thanks, and it's 4 days of pain and it's 4 days of travel lodges, which I don't know which is worse, travel lodges or pain,
Exactly.
to be honest with you. But listen, that has been the LFC Daytrippers for tonight. Thanks a million for joining us. As I said, we're going to try bring you shows every night this week. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to subscribe to Joe's channel. Hit the like button. Turn your bell icon on, so if we do go live, you know all about it. That's been it. I've really enjoyed having Joe back on. Despite Leeds getting relegated, we do not let go of Joe. He's still one of the nation's favourites. I'm going to call you a nation's favourite from now on. Just work that out.
The housewife's favourite, mate.
Oh, I don't know about that, Joe. Don't lose the run of yourself. We just leave it at the nation's favourite. That's been it. Talking of here over and out.